Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about the film Corvette Summer. A senior in high school, played by Mark Hamill, who with his shop class goes to a junkyard and picks out a Corvette that they will remodel and then remake together as a class. And Mark Hamill's character becomes incredibly obsessed with this Corvette, and he makes it into an incredible Corvette that everyone loves. And while everyone in the class is driving it around and one of his friends parks it, played by Danny Bonaducci, he parks the car and then walks away from it, and then it gets stolen. And then Mark Hamill is incredibly depressed, and he gets a hot tip that the Corvette is probably in Las Vegas in a showroom, so he hitchhikes a ride with a girl who wants to be a hooker in Las Vegas, played by Annie Potts, and he goes to Las Vegas in search of his Corvette. When I kind of discovered Corvette Summer, it was through TCM, and it was on at like 4 a.m. and I DVR'd it. I wanted to watch it for the big reason was because I haven't seen very many movies besides the Star Wars movies that star Mark Hamill. That was of particular interest of mine. And then I kind of remembered, I think it was like in the 90s, I don't remember what year in the 90s, I think when I was a kid, so early 90s, TNT used to play a lot of classic movies, and they did a kind of a summer car thing one summer, and they were like, and we're going to play this movie with Mark Hamill, which I remembered being called The Car, but I could never find a movie starring Mark Hamill called The Car, and so I assumed it was probably this movie, and I'd always kind of been curious about that movie because I didn't see it in the early 90s, but I always remembered the TNT ad, so I kind of found this movie through TCM and through that, and then I watched it. Really, I was really interested in this because of Mark Hamill and because of my love of Star Wars and Luke Skywalker, and then I found out this was the only film he made between Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, and it was kind of his big star vehicle, I guess you could say, post-Star Wars. I've never heard of any Mark Hamill starring vehicles, and Harrison Ford had a couple starring vehicles as well after Star Wars. None of them did particularly well. I mean, later, after Empire, and he had like Raiders and Blade Runner, that was after Empire, but between Star Wars and Empire, none of them really had a lot of luck branching out from Star Wars. Then I find Annie Potts is in this, and Annie Potts plays Janine in Ghostbusters, and I was like, oh my god, this is perfect, this is amazing. When else would I see Luke Skywalker fall in love with Janine? And I'm totally into that. And then while I'm watching the film and Mark Hamill's character gets to Las Vegas and he finds the person who stole his car, it's played by this guy Kim Milford, who is the star and protagonist of one of my favorite Mystery Science Theater episodes, Laser Blast. And having him in a scene with Mark Hamill was probably one of the most incredible dork movie things I've seen in quite a while. I was just like, I was totally movie nerding out because I was like, I can't believe they shared a scene together after the infamous Laser Blast Star Wars scene. I was just like, I can't believe this exists. This is amazing. He was way better than he was in Laser Blast, by the way. A million times better in this film than he was in Laser Blast. I actually was like, oh, hey, he could be like a real actor. You know, I didn't know he could like be a real actor in real movies that weren't Laser Blast. And even Ian McKellen has a small cameo as a weird porn cinematographer, I guess, which was bizarre. There were enough weird little kitschy reasons for me to kind of fall in love with this movie. And it was just kind of a normal little studio teen summer movie from the late 70s. And then the end of the second act kind of won me over. Mark Hamill's portrayal of this kid who, you could tell from the way he looks, he's more obsessed with the car than anything else. He just cares about cars. It's about the summer after senior year, Corvette Summer. So it's the summer and they finish the car at the end of the year and he goes off to find the car. And that was fine. But then at the end of the second act, the film kind of has a big shift, and I really liked it and I was really into it, and I thought it was a really good plot development, and I thought the movie got really interesting at that point. It kind of reminded me of, if you've ever seen the movie The Girl Next Door, which doesn't really look like much, but I remember when that came out, my friends were like, no dude, this is a pretty decent movie. It looks like just a stupid teen comedy, but it's actually pretty good. Like this or Corvette Summer, they're not the most amazing films ever made. They win you over despite a lamer studio small budget movie, but they win you over anyway, and that was definitely with Corvette Summer. And even like the car, I thought the car, I was like, what the fuck is up with that car at the beginning? And then through his journey for the car and through pining over the car for the whole film, by the end of the movie I thought the car was really cool. By the end of the movie I was so into it, whereas at the beginning I was like, alright, I'm seeing this from Mark Hamill, and seeing more and more actors I knew, I kind of fell more and more in love with it, but I was kind of, you know, kitschily watching this. And then it actually won me over for the plot. It's not an amazing movie, but it's kind of surprising that the film would do some of these things, and it's kind of like a cult car movie. It actually plays at America's National Corvette Museum in Cooperstown, New York, and they screen the movie regularly. I can see if you're into cars, this would be a cool movie. It's about a car now. It is very much about cars. Mark Hamill claims it's more of a love story than a car movie. I think it is a bit of both, but it's definitely a car movie. Beck actually wrote a song about this called Corvette Bummer, which I've never actually heard, but now I think I will listen to. I do like Beck. Both Mark Hamill and Annie Potts were actually later in car accidents post this movie, so I guess that's a little bit of a curse. Ooh. A small little movie that kind of won me over. It's a nice little summer movie that you'd probably see like later summer. It came out June 2nd, 1978. See, I think this would be a better later summer I don't know, it's just a good kind of nice little summer teen movie starring Mark Hamill at kind of the height of his fame. I always wish Mark Hamill had a better film career than he did. Sometimes it's nice to just sit back and watch a nicely done little studio summer teen movie. And it's not, you know, too raunchy or too stupid. I think for the most part, the first two acts I thought were kind of lame, but I think the end of the second and the beginning of the third really gives it the punch that it needs. I mean, this is why a good third act's important, even if you have a good first and second. If you have a good third act, it's almost like that's what you leave with. And what I left with was, hey, this is a pretty cool movie. I'm a little surprised. And that's always a fun feeling to leave, especially for a movie that you're not expecting anything from. I want to talk about the kind of the shift at the end, and so I don't spoil it. I'm going to do a spoiler section, so if you want to spoil it for yourself, that's your own thing, but I don't that's lame, don't do that. But if you have seen it, then you can go on, I guess, you know. So this is the spoiler section. Alright, so what happens is he finds the car at this shop where they like make custom cars, and he finds it. And then you see throughout the film the teacher who he worked on the car with is kind of finds out he's in Las Vegas and kind of figures out what's going on. You're like, what's his deal? What's the teacher's deal? And the teacher meets him in Las Vegas and tells him what the deal is that when he has the class make these custom cars, he has them kind of fake stolen, gets the insurance money for it, and then he kind of sells the car. Now, really, wouldn't people catch on that all these cars disappear, but whatever. He kind of tells Mark Hamill, look, everyone thinks you're really talented at this shop. They'll give you a job because if you catch them, I'm going to get in trouble. And he's like his mentor, and, you know, his house is going to get taken away, and he'll get sent to jail, and his kids will live this awful life, and his wife's life will be ruined. And Mark Hamill's like, well, gee, I don't want to do that. So he takes the job, and he kind of like sells out his morals. It gets a little dark in there. You're like, wow, that's really fucked up, because he just like he sold out his morals. And Annie Potts, who kind of doesn't want to be a prostitute anymore, realizes like, maybe I should sell my morals, maybe I should do this. And the film goes into this dark place. Now it kind of corrects itself in a very Hollywood way, but it's almost like it kind of flirts with 70s existentialism in a little bit, but it doesn't go full for it. But I kind of almost like that it doesn't do it. I didn't want Mark Hamill to go dark. I just like the character arc that he goes there, kind of realizes it's fucked up, and turns back and steals the car, and it's all good. But that third act is so smart, because you really have a real arc, you know? I think it would be one thing to have him chase the car and make it just about that, and he steals the car and goes home. That would be a little too simple. Corvette Summer is a little more complex than it absolutely probably needed to be, but it really works for it, and I thought it really won me over and made me actually kind of love this movie. And I'd even see Corvette Summer again because of the third act. I thought the third act was absolutely stunning. It was a really smart move on the part of the director Matthew Robbins, and it was written by him and the producer Hal Borwood. You could say, oh, lame Hollywood always has to have the happy ending, but it's the kind of movie that I've complained about it before, that it's like sometimes I feel like even an okay third act, it's like, why can't movies have that end third act that it was when I was a kid? And it's like Corvette Summer kind of has that, where it's like, yes, I believe in the studio system, I believe in a happy ending in a movie, because he kind of sells out for a little bit and just is like, forget it, I'll just take this good job and I'll make $700 a week. Well, he eventually makes it to $850, and I'll work with Kim Milford of Laser Blast and all that stuff. That seems so sad, and I love that they kind of go back and still have a happy ending, and it makes you kind of believe in the human spirit a little bit, or at least for me. So if you have seen Corvette Summer and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments, and subscribe if you would like to.